Hi, this is Julie at Love's Beginning, and today the idea I have to talk about is now showing. And the meaning of this is when I am looking at another being um, that looks very believably to me to be a person, when I'm looking at the person, I'm looking at all my thoughts projected outward. I'm looking at a projection of my thoughts and it doesn't mean anything. So, what I'm shown more and more is that what I think I'm seeing when I'm looking at a person is more like now showing. You know how you go to your local theater and it'll say now showing, and the movie keeps changing and the movie keeps changing. So, what I'm told is what I see when I'm looking at another is a movie of my choice. It's my choice, and this is difficult to keep in mind when I think I have a problem. And our problems are most often about our interactions with others, and things are going our way or aren't going our way because things are or aren't this way or that way. Um, so when I'm focusing on the other, and I think there's a real problem, and I think that other is responsible for the problem, I'm actually looking at nothing. I'm looking at a projection of my thoughts, and it's exactly what I told the movie that I chose to have played to me. That's hard to realize and understand, but that's what's always happening when I'm looking at another that I call person. So more and more I'm called to remember, um, not only that I am the light, everybody is the light, every being is the light, and to think of that light being, that the purity of that being kind of standing behind. It's just a simple visual given to me temporarily, the person, and that means everything. The light that being is means everything, and the story that I'm projecting upon the person, whether it's positive or negative, is actually nothing. Do you know how in life we think we're experiencing a relative negative, and so we yearn for the positive? And we might wish that, like when we had experiences with people, that we're yearning for a more positive reflection from the person or a more positive experience with the person. But the positive is just a temporarily, what we call the positive is a temporary distraction from the suffering that identifying as separate really is. So it doesn't even matter whether I think I'm seeing positive or negative in the person, a person in my life, a person on TV, doesn't matter. It's a light being playing a role, and the role is always perfect for my awakening. So I'm being encouraged to see often after the fact that actually didn't mean anything, that movie you just saw, but you attached meaning to it, and that's where the tension and the stress and the suffering came in. But if you could look at the person and see the very equal light being behind them, with the opportunity to shine through that personhood, you'll be able to see yourself the same way. You won't regard yourself as separate or infused with this heaviness, or pressure, or responsibility in the heavy sense, like we're responsible for the nothingness of phenomenality. We aren't, but phenomenality comes from our thinking, and we are responsible for our thinking. We are responsible for what we're believing. So I'm just encouraged more and more to see the light beings behind what I call and see as people. And when I see something unfolding on in front of me, whether it's on a screen or in what I call real life, um, it's a movie of my choosing. And if I'm attaching meaning to it, positive or negative, if there's any stress there at all, there can be stress even in what we call the positive, because we might not feel deserving of it, or we are afraid of losing it. Um, So, positive or negative, it's all equally meaningless, but all of the meaning comes from settling into the light I am and you are, and being open to allow it to shine through the story, um, everywhere and anywhere. So, this represents a shift for me, um, maybe like a graduation. like I'm finally willing to see something that I needed to be led toward with baby steps before. So it's good. It's also really challenging. It's really challenging to see how I'm assigning meaning, and how whenever I feel density or tension, it's because of a meaning that I'm assigning. It's because I'm giving positive or negative value to phenomenality, and to what I see as persons, and to then what I further analyze as the qualities of these persons, then what I further judge as positive or negative based on my analysis. There's a whole lot of thinking there, and I can finally see um, the uselessness of it. And once I see the uselessness of it, I will stop depending on my own judgments, the judgments of a separate and false identity, because there's something else to depend on. But it's not defined in the sense that the ego would judge something as defined. It's not particular, it's not phenomenally, it's not physically based. It's not what we're used to in terms of judgment. It's it's benign, and it can guide us in very specific ways. um, so it's like this mode of being that's always available to us, but that I ignore a lot with the disturbance of the chosen disturbance of hearing all the ego's judgments and bouncing off them and acting on them. So this is just like a watching and observing, a settling down and a listening. And it's a very cool place. So, wishing you well. Hope this helps.